Hi, friends.
Hi, friends.
We're back for episode 32 of the Brunch
Yes.
and Judge.
Woo, party.
So I'm going to remember we're
Yes.
your hosts. I am April.
And I'm
And
Claire
this makes two episodes we remembered to introduce ourselves. What?
in a row.
In a row. That's right. One more and we can tic-tac-toe, guys.
That's right. We win.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Um, let's see. 32 is a good year for me, I think.
you think?
Oh yes, it's when I had my second Sweet 16. That's right.
Yeah.
Much
I
better
remember
than
what
the
was
than
it?
the OG 16, but
Look, 30 was not a good year for you because wasn't that when you fell and you got the
at
concussion?
30, no.
Was that or was it 35?
Hold on. What year is this? Okay. I would have been
Because it was like right around your birthday that you did it.
It's true. I fell on my birthday, but it was not 32. It must have been How old am I?
You're
I am
39.
39. I would have been 34. It's my 34th birthday.
Okay. All
It's
right. All right.
2017. So
Gotcha. Okay.
no, no, no. 34 was a bad year. Bad,
Right. And
bad, 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 bad. 32 was great. I had my second Sweet 16. I had a big party. When is your second Sweet 16? You get to drink. So that was fun.
That's even
Yeah,
better.
everybody was there. Lots of good food, good times.
We highly recommend second Sweet
Yeah,
16s.
I'm really excited. Let's see. When I'm 42, I'm going to do my second 21st birthday.
Okay. Fun, fun, fun.
Because
Yes.
again, my first one is not that exciting. I
Right.
was busy, I was
Right.
doing
Yeah.
stuff. I think um we were on a leadership, it was in college. I was on a leadership retreat for my 21st birthday. And
Okay.
a group of us snuck away, and instead of going to some thing we were supposed to go to, and we went and I had a chocolate martini or whatever. It's not like it was my first alcoholic drink. It was Kentucky, guys. Come on. Everybody been drinking.
Right.
It's fine. Um, but it was my first legal
Legal
drink.
alcoholic drink. Yes.
So, mm,
Yay.
so obviously 42's got to be better than that.
Right. For reals.
All
So,
right.
what are you judging this week?
I have a couple things.
Uh-huh.
So my first one that I want to judge primarily because I hate people pretty much. Let's just go with that. I hate people. But I really hate Desantis in Florida, which
Mm-hmm.
is where my brother lives. And
He's like a human dumpster fire.
he
Yes.
is like, I mean, he's a step above Trump in that he's not a psychotic idiot. He's a sociopathic,
Right.
like, master manipulator. Like, there's a
Absolutely.
really
Yes.
disconcerting dark side to him that makes me very uncomfortable. And it's a whole
Right.
lot of that. That's not what I believe you should be, so you can't be that, or I don't like this, so we can't have that. It's
Right.
that mentality that bothers me. Whatever. But I'm sure you've heard that he, for some reason, I don't understand, because he is the governor of what state, Claire? That's
Florida.
right, Florida, which does not touch Texas at all. But somehow he decided
Right.
to fly um, immigrants who had illegally crossed the border. If that, I don't even understand how any of that works, but whatever. He decided to fly some of them to Martha's Vineyard as some kind of a political stunt protest about how we need to do more to deal with what I'm sure really is a problem. So I'm not going to try and say that it's not. Um,
Right.
of the southern border and all the people who are crossing, and the reality that has
Right.
on cities and communities in the area, as along with the people who are crossing and what they need. But he doesn't care about
Well, and
them.
he probably picked Martha's Vineyard because it's known for
it's
its swanky people who
mhm.
are out of touch with
It's
reality and that
home
kind,
of
Yeah,
politicians and billionaires and all the people who like to say things but don't actually want to do things.
do
Like, I
anything.
mean,
Yeah. Hmm.
it was 100% a political stunt. But
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I love that it kind of backfired because it seems like the
Yes.
people of Martha's Vineyard who had no idea they were coming, had no like they just were suddenly there. Um, Rallied together and set up, you know, cots and things in a church to have a place for them to stay, and they were like donating things, and I
Like
was
it didn't turn out like he thought it was going to turn out.
and
Like,
I read about people who like were volunteering and were helping, and the stories that they were being told, like the horrific things that these people went through to try and get here. I mean, these
yeah.
are people who have watched their loved ones die, who almost died themselves, who have lost everything, who have nothing, and they were
Like literally they
told,
only have the clothes on their
yeah.
backs. That's it.
And
Like,
like,
yeah.
what frustrates me is like they were told their stories are like someone came up to them and were like, we're gonna fly you somewhere where you're gonna get help filling out your paperwork, and there's gonna be jobs and services. So they were absolutely lied to by Desantis's people,
Gosh.
and were flown having no idea really where they were going. Although he claims they had a map, so they knew where they were going. I'm like, that's not how that works.
No. Mm-mm.
Um,
No.
and so this all happened, and it's just to me it's heartbreaking. These are people. Like I don't
Yes.
care honestly what side you are in the whole what should we do in this particular crisis of people coming across the border and blah 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 blah. I don't care where you are on that conversation or how you feel about it. In the end, they're people,
They're
and they were
humans.
used as pawns
Yes.
in a ridiculous stunt that is just so shitty and honestly is human trafficking. And there are lawyers that
Mm-hmm.
have come together that are going to try and do something about it, because you don't get to mess with people like that to further your agenda. Like, fucking be
Right.
goddamn grown-ups, have real conversations with other politicians, put aside your bullshit party lines and Republican and Democratic assholery, and just talk about the reality and what needs to happen, because they're
Right.
people. They're people who have lives, who have loved ones, who are doing nothing more than what you want everyone here to do, which is to work hard, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, which we all know is a bullshit, whatever.
Bullshit.
But
Mm-hmm.
like, that's what they're doing. And then you're punishing them and using them in this horrific way. Like, how
Right.
awful.
Yeah.
What kind of a depraved human being thinks that this is an okay thing to do? Like, it's
And this is
disgusting.
where it's like, you need to check your white privilege, sir.
Yes.
Obviously you have never been in which none of us, you, me, nobody that I know personally,
No.
has ever been in a situation where you have to flee your home because you are afraid for your life and that you have to go somewhere completely different where the culture is completely different, the language is completely different, and
Mhm.
you're trying to better yourself and assimilate into that culture. And it's just, yeah,
Well,
it's just terrible
and
that you
even
just think that you can
yeah.
just like, oh, I'm just gonna put you on a plane and just ship you somewhere to get you out of here. That's just, I mean, yeah, that's maddening.
Well, and what's like some of the stories I was reading, were these people showing pictures of all the dead people they left behind on their journey, because like 40% of the people
Right.
who started this journey through the jungle and everything, they didn't make it. They fucking died to just try and get here, to have a
Yeah.
chance. Like, they're here for a chance and nothing else. They put their
Right.
lives on the line for a chance. And all of it is just because they did not have the divine luck to be born here. Because that's all it is.
Right.
You have no control where you're born. So stop fucking act like you're special and privileged because you were fucking born here. You didn't have to be. You could have been born fucking
Right.
anywhere to anybody.
And the ones that really get on my nerves are the ones who are like, well, if they were trying to come into this country the right way, what, what, what's the right way?
Well, the right way is that we
That's what
let
I
in like
want to know.
less the amount of people we allow in is obscene, because it's
Right.
tiny and minuscule in comparison with what countries a fraction of our size will allow. And so we make it impossible. We tie it up with paperwork. We don't help people. So like The right way
Oh,
is
and
made
they,
impossible on purpose and is only really
yeah,
there to let in like, the scientists who want to defect so that we can have their,
their
nuclear
technology and their,
technology and whatever.
yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
so I'm like, God damn it. Like I hope that when America crumbles, hopefully not in my lifetime, but
right,
odds are civilization and war and whatever things change. I hope that someone lets us fucking in, you know?
right,
That they're not like, oh, well, you got to go through it the right way. We don't care that you're refugees or that you're all dying or
right.
whatever. So, but yes, it was a shitty, shitty move by a shitty, shitty guy. And it tells you
Mm-hmm.
everything you need to know about him because, like, it wasn't even people in his state. He went to another fucking state to
Right.
deal with a problem that isn't his problem.
Wasn't his problem.
Like,
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of refugees who come in from Cuba, from Haiti, from wherever. My brother actually sent us a picture of a boat that washed up on shore. We're hopeful that the people that were on it made it and didn't die in the crossing because a lot of them do.
Mm-hmm.
But, again, these are people risking everything to come here and work really shitty jobs, by the way, for less than we pay other people. So
Right.
I'm just like, the hell is wrong with you? It's disgusting.
And I mean, people here, I've heard more than one person say this, that, it's like jokingly,
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I should just fire all my employees and hire a bunch of Mexicans and pay them in tequila. You know,
Yep.
things things like that. Because it's like, oh, I could get rid of all my employees, and jokingly, but still, it's like, are you joking though? Because
Mm-hmm.
get rid of all your employees that you actually have to pay money to, but
Mm-hmm.
then you're like, I'm just going to hire a bunch of Mexicans and pay them under the table and blah blah. It's just like, quit, stop.
Let's say I'm in an area of the United States that gets a lot of migrant workers because of the orchards
Mm-hmm.
and things, especially in the summer, and they move around.
Right.
And I mean, you wouldn't have apples. The United States wouldn't have apples. They wouldn't have cherries. They wouldn't have anything that we grow over here because that's who works those. It's not anyone else. They're given
Right.
quote unquote housing and they work and they get paid probably not great because it's migrant workers and I don't think that that's
Mm-hmm.
super overseen, but
Right.
I'm like you owe them for your life and livelihood. You get to have food
Right.
because
Because,
people come across the
yeah.
border.
Right. And do all the jobs that
Yeah.
nobody here wants to do
In
or
the
wants to deal with.
117-degree heat because that's how hot it can
Right.
get here. So like fuck you
Right.
people. But so that's what I'm judging. I hope DeSantis gets fucking skewered for this and Texas and you know,
Greg Abbott and all that.
like
Yeah.
I get it. I get that the conversation is complicated and people have lots of thoughts. But like you don't mess with actual people and their lives. You
Right.
don't use them as pawns and toys. You sit down and talk like fucking grown-ups. It's your goddamn job.
Right.
Ugh, it's disgusting. So that's what I'm judging this
Yes.
week. Fuck
Right.
you, DeSantis.
Indeed. It was excellent because, yeah,
Mhm.
he's human trash. That's all there is to it. That's how I feel about that.
All right, Claire, what are you
Yeah.
judging this week?
I'm judging men.
Just like DeSantis, yep.
Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah, no.
Men suck. Not all
Um
of them, sorry guys.
no. Just I have people who send me friend requests on the socials, and some of them I know, some of them I kind of recognize their name. We have mutual
Oh,
friends,
mm-hmm.
that kind of thing. Some of them are you're just like, "Oh, that 100% is spam.
Right.
That's
Right.
that's trash. Just delete." You can tell pretty quick when it's fake. You're like, "Oh, this person's trying to like get me to give them my social and my, credit card and all that because they
Mm-hmm.
want my money." I don't know. But this guy like friended me on Facebook and we had several local mutual friends in common. And I thought, well, maybe this is somebody who just like knew of me from theater. I don't know. Anyway, messages me and I'm just kind of like, hey,
Hey.
and then it turns into like, not, it wasn't like inappropriate sexually, but it was just like the constant messaging and, the like, I miss you kind. And I'm like, I've never even met
It's like,
you.
I don't
At,
know you. How can you
right.
miss me?
Exactly. Exactly. And I think I even said that. I'm like, I don't even know you. Like, what are we doing here? And finally it's like, look, I have told you, I've said no, however many ways you can say it by being nice. And it's like, look, I have a boyfriend. I am in a relationship. This is not happening. I don't know what you have in your head, you know, not happening. And you go and you check out his page and it was like he had a girlfriend.
Ew.
Or at least on, yeah, yeah. And so, but he keeps messaging, and it was just like, oh my gosh. And so finally I told Brandon about it, and he just was like, do you want me to say something to him? And I mean, because usually I'm
Mm.
not that person, and at first I was like, no, no, it's fine, it's fine. But it kept happening, and then it became one of those that was like, um, you know, what if he wound up like showing up at like one of my jobs or something? It became that kind of like,
Oh, wow.
this might,
Ugh.
because, there's a lot of stuff on Facebook about like where I work,
Mm-hmm.
so that's, especially because I mean, my stuff is pretty private if you're not friends with me,
Right.
you know, but it's like, even after like unfriending him, he's still messaging, and then I would block, and then he would like do another Facebook account and,
Oh
that
my
kind of bullshit.
God, I fucking hate that shit. Ugh.
Yeah,
God damn it. Stop doing that. That's gross.
I know. So finally, I told Brandon, I was like, yeah, go ahead and say something. And so Brandon messages him and was just, I mean, he wasn't like rude about it, but it was just like, leave my girlfriend the hell alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna beat the shit out of you.
Right.
It was just like, you know, and then it was like, since then I haven't heard hide nor hair. And that pisses me the fuck off.
Because you
Because
should be able to just
why
say fucking
is,
no, and that should be enough.
yes, why is my no not good enough?
Yeah.
That's really, why is me saying no not good enough? Why do you have to go through months and months of me saying no, unfriending you, blocking you, you creating other accounts? But then the one time my boyfriend threatens you, it's like, okay, you know, should I have threatened him? Like,
Yeah. And
was
it's
that
just,
why? Is because I didn't threaten him? It's like
but I mean,
aggravation.
I would argue that even you threatening him wouldn't have changed anything,
Right, right.
just, based on personal experience. But also, when people do that shit, because I've had that happen to me where people create new fucking
Oh,
Facebook accounts to
oh, I know.
stalk and
I know.
harass. Um,
Mhm.
I report that shit to Facebook. Like, I don't know if they do anything, but I at least report it. So I'm like, they've
Right.
created a second account. They're using it specifically to harass me. Here's a
Yeah,
copy of what they've done. You need to fucking deal with this. And
right.
you know,
And I did that at one point because
mm.
it was just like, "Oh my god, leave me
But I'm
alone."
like, stop
Like, it's just
it.
like,
It's awful.
yeah. And so every now and then Brandon will like joke, because occasionally I'll get like weird follows on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I feel like Instagram is less creepy than Facebook because it's just photos. It's like whatever, you know. But it's like, one time it's like I'll get a follow and then they'll go through and they'll like every single post, that I've done in
Mm.
like the last 6 months. So there's like a whole big bunch of them. And I'll take a screenshot and I'll send it to Brandon and be like, oh, I got a new Instagram stalker. Like, they don't message me, they just like
Mm-hmm.
all my stuff. And I'm like, okay, well, as long
Yeah.
as you're not messaging me and harassing me, it's like,
I always
you
get
know,
super creeped out when someone, and I feel like it happens more on Facebook for me than anywhere. Like you'll be friends with
Right.
somebody or whatever, and they'll suddenly like a picture from like 5 years ago, and you're like, the fuck are you doing?
Right.
Why are you digging
Right.
through
You're
my
like,
pictures? Like, okay, fine, you're
man,
digging
you
through
were
my
like
pictures, but like,
researching.
why are you
Yeah.
liking it? What the hell is wrong with you, you psychotic weirdo? That's creepy. Don't be a creep.
Right.
Ay,
That's my judge is men, women, whatever. Somebody tells you no.
no means no.
No means no. Drop it. Don't keep on, you know, just
Well,
stop.
it's that ridiculous bullshit of like when we were younger, basically the thing they would tell guys is,
Oh, yeah.
oh well, if she says no, just keep trying, essentially.
She's playing hard to
Yeah,
get,
and it's like,
that kind of.
no. If she says no,
Right.
then you say, okay, if you change your mind, let me know. That's it. That's
Right.
all. It's the only thing you can do, because
Right.
she said no. You're done. Gross.
But yeah, that's my judge
Yes.
is like somebody says no, that should be good enough, just drop it. You shouldn't have to like
And you
keep
shouldn't.
saying
You
no
also shouldn't even
and then
have to
have.
say, I have a boyfriend. Like, you shouldn't even
Right.
have to be like, here's my specific reason why no. You should just be
Right.
like,
You should just say
no,
no. Yeah.
I'm not interested. Bye.
Right.
Ugh, it's disgusting.
It is. That's my judge. It just makes me mad that, you have to go through all of
It's
that and then
2022. We're still doing
finally.
this shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you have to get your boyfriend, stick your boyfriend on him and be like, "I'm gonna kick your
Yeah.
ass. Fucking stop it." And then that works like magic. And I'm still salty about it. I'm not salty that Brandon did
No,
it.
no, no, no,
Like,
no.
because I did finally, because he did ask me. It
Yeah.
wasn't like he just went and did it. Because at first I was just like, no, no, I'll deal with it. But then it just would not stop.
Yeah.
So then it was like, okay, I'll let you, just message him. And then it was just like nothing. And I'm like, well, thank you for getting him to stop. But also, why the fuck was my answer not good enough?
Yes.
That's where I'm at.
Oh, and
Makes me
hey,
mad.
pro tip, guys. Being blocked is no. Don't
Right.
then try and follow them on another form of social media,
Right.
because that's disgusting too. And
It
you
is.
know who I'm talking about.
I do know who you're
Disgusting.
talking about.
Just leave them alone.
Anyway,
Just take the no.
that's my
Just take the
judge.
no. Move on.
Right. That's
That
my judge.
is an excellent judge, Claire. Fuck that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I think we should both judge
So say
what
so
what everybody's been talking about this past
it's like,
week.
I'm sure you guys know that Disney has continued its journey into remaking all of its animated movies into live action things, whether they're good choices or not. I don't know how I feel about this
Right.
particular trend, but it is what it is. I don't care. So their newest one that everyone is all up in arms over is The Little Mermaid. No, Claire, why are people so upset about the live action version of The Little Mermaid?
Well, I think it's because this new Little Mermaid, her skin color is not the correct color
Oh, it's not.
to what some of these people
Oh,
think.
it's not green?
Right.
Because,
No, it's black.
hey, last time I checked, in the original Little Mermaid story that Disney took, because it, was public domain, so they could.
Right.
Little Mermaid was kind of green because she's a mythical creature.
I know. I'm here for all the sarcastic people with all their TikToks and all their posts.
I'm just
I'm
like,
here for all of that.
I mean, what cracks me up? Okay, so like people are like, "Oh my god, you're ruining my childhood," blah 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 blah. It's like, no, no, no. Your childhood still has the same generic white girl cartoon.
Right.
That didn't change. It's still there. People still watch that.
Right.
You can still watch that one.
Like to me, it's like as long as she can act and she can sing it, I don't care what she looks like, In fact, she could even be chubby. Oh, let's go that far to say she could even be a chubby chick. You know, as long as she could act it and could sing it,
Mm-hmm.
I do not care.
Well, I'm just like, she's got the red hair, which apparently was all anyone ever really truly cared about for Ariel, which whatever. I
Right,
mean, I'm pro red
right.
hair. My hair's currently red, but I was just like, Why do you care? Why do you care at all? Especially after I've watched a myriad of TikTok videos of
Right.
little girls finally seeing themselves
Oh my gosh.
represented
Right.
as a Disney princess in a movie, a live action. Like, I mean, they're
Right.
so fucking happy and excited to see themselves. And all
Right.
I could think of was how, when I was a little kid, I saw myself as Belle. She was the first
Right.
Disney princess. She
Uh-huh.
was brunette. She had, you know,
She would
she
read. I
read,
think for me,
and
that was the
yes,
big one for
she was
me,
a
was that
reader
she was such a
because
bookworm. Yeah.
I was a bookworm.
Right.
And
Same.
her desire for something more than just the fucking little small town she was in spoke to me even
Right.
at the young age of 7, because I then
Right.
already
Same.
wanted to see the
Hey.
world.
Right.
So that
Right.
was, I mean, it was huge to have that, to have not just some pathetic princess who needed rescuing, because that's how a lot of those stories went. Let's be real. It
Right.
was, she is this smart girl. She's saving her dad. Like,
Right.
she's this pure-hearted bookworm who was so happy when she saw the library in the castle. I mean, like, she's
Right.
like, "Oh my god."
Right. Right.
But then even on top of that, like, I had one American Girl doll because I grew up at a time when if you were fucking lucky, you got to have one. So, like,
Right.
I got to have one. I didn't have all of her things, but I learned how to sew because of her, so that's cool.
That was the
And
one toy that I asked for
I never got.
repeatedly
They're
that I
so fucking
never got. They are. I
And it
get it.
was
They
my
are.
last doll. Like, I got it as like an
Yeah.
11-year-old. So, like,
Right. Right.
I mean,
Right.
um, but like, she looked like me. She had brown hair and she had brown eyes, and she came from the period of time that I was fascinated by. And she was an orphan, which for some reason I was super fascinated by as a child. I was super obsessed with orphan stories. I don't know why. It's kind of weird looking back on that. But like, I felt
Right.
seen. I felt like I was part of, like, I read her stories and I felt like I was her. And so, like, I had all that representation growing up as a brunette with brown eyes or whatever. Like, it was nice to feel part of that. So why wouldn't you want that for other little girls and
Right.
boys, for that matter,
Right.
to be able just to see themselves in their stories? Because it doesn't fucking matter.
And one of my favorite TikToks I saw was this guy talking about that, but how they're like, y'all, like Brandy played
Yeah.
Cinderella in Rogers and Hammerstein's
Hmm.
Cinderella. And he was like, look at her. Like, she's beautiful. She's, she could sing it. Then you had like Bernadette Peters, who had the two the two evil stepsisters.
Hmm.
One was white, one was black. Nobody ever like discussed how that happened,
No, they just were like,
you
that's fine.
know. And then you have the king and queen, who were Whoopi Goldberg and Victor Garber, who had an Asian son
Mm.
playing the prince.
Yes.
Nobody said a word. I don't ever remember that, because I remember when that came out, because we had the original, like, Rogers and Hammerstein Cinderella with, oh, I can't think of her name right now, Leslie something. Anyway, and actually the woman who voices Ursula played one of the stepsisters in
Oh,
that
okay.
movie. And uh watch that all the time. Hot take. That was like one of Walt's favorite movies as a kid. One of mine was like, what was it, like Karate Kid? Walt's was Rogers and Hammerstein Cinderella. He watched it all the time.
We all have our things.
I know. And so, but you know, when they did that and cast all those people, to me it was, and even Whitney Houston
Mhm.
was the fairy godmother. It was like all of that. Nobody
Well,
cared,
because
because all of those
you
people could
shouldn't.
sing, they could act, they
Yeah.
could do it. And it was just like, oh, why is it a thing?
Well, and
Now it's like,
to me, I think what makes me the most bizarrely outraged about it is that it's a mermaid. It's a made up creature
right,
that doesn't exist,
right.
based on a really dark and sadistic tale, by the way. Um,
And these people are like, I'm a purist. And
and I'm
it's
like,
like, well, if you
Disney
were a
wasn't a
real
fucking purist,
purist,
so, like, no, you're not.
right,
And it
Yeah,
doesn't
because it's like if you were a
matter.
purist, yeah. Because part of me is like, do y'all not know that the original Little Mermaid is like an allegory for Hans Christian Andersen's life as a gay man? Because he wanted to be with a guy who was married to a woman and he couldn't. And so it was just like,
Hmm.
that was why it was so gruesome because that's how he felt. It was like when,
Yeah.
trying to, yeah, because it was like when she became a human, it was felt like knives. She's walking on knives, like
And
her
I think
legs.
like
It was
her feet
painful.
even bled in the story. But
Yes,
like, and
yeah,
she
uh
couldn't
huh.
speak, which is his
Because they ripped her tongue
right.
out.
Well, that was her
Like it
payment.
ripped her tongue out. Yeah,
And so, but like that's him feeling like he couldn't talk about his
right.
true identity, his true self. But like, it's also this weird like mermaids live to be 300 years and she wanted part of a human soul so that she could have a soul to go to heaven. It's a whole bizarre.
Because mermaids didn't have
They
souls.
just
That was the
turn
whole
into
thing.
sea
Mermaids didn't have
foam or
souls.
whatever. It's
Yeah.
and like she thought about killing him because he married another girl, and if she killed him,
Well, it was because her sisters. It was something like her sisters were like,
if you
"Oh,
kill him and
you can come back to
take
us.
his
You can
blood, you
come
can
back to us
become
if you
a
kill
mermaid.
him."
Yeah,
Yeah, and
and
she
she
couldn't
couldn't
do
do
it
it.
because she loved him too much, even though he didn't love
Yeah.
her. And it's like,
Oh,
oh my gosh.
there's a weird screech. Sorry.
Uh-oh.
But I was just like, God, like it's make believe creatures. No one cares. It
Right.
doesn't matter what their skin tone is, what their hair color is. Like, just let the
Right.
story be a story. God damn it. Go watch your OG cartoon and calm the fuck down. But
Right.
my favorite 100% hands down response to all of this was one of my friends on Facebook was like, "Oh, I saw there's a lot of controversy about Little Mermaid." And I'm here to be like, I absolutely fucking agree. Like, it is a travesty that Lizzo is not Ursula. She was robbed.
Right.
And I was like, there it is. There it is.
I
I was
agree.
like,
But that's a hot take and I agree with that.
And
Yes.
she's like, imagine my surprise when I discovered that's not what people were talking about. It's like, oh.
Right.
uh,
Lizzo would have made a fantastic Ursula.
but so, you know, just like, guys, maybe take a moment, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, are you really upset that a fictional character that is a magical creature does not look exactly like one of the previous versions that had been created? Because not all of them look the same.
Right.
Or are you maybe just a little bit racist? Eh,
Right.
I mean, just take a moment, think about it, and then move the fuck on.
Right.
Because here's the thing, I had zero interest in watching the movie because I just don't care. I'm out of my Disney phase. It finally happened. I'm just
Right.
like, it's not a
Yeah.
priority.
Uh-huh.
I don't whatever. I haven't watched the last few Disney things that have come out. But you know what? Because everyone's making a whole fucking goddamn scene about it. I'm gonna go fucking watch it. Like, take my money.
Right.
Because now I'm gonna support the fact that there are little girls and boys all over the world that now feel like they are part of their storybook narratives and they can see
Right.
themselves in the same way I got to see myself. And that's the most important thing,
Right.
is to feel seen and represented.
I mean, seeing all the videos
Mm-hmm.
of the children seeing her for the first time and like the smiles
Mm-hmm.
and the squeals and the joy of them realizing, and them saying, she looks like me. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
I got a little
Well,
weepy. I'm not going to lie. I was just like, this is the sweetest thing.
and so
It's like,
one of my favorite ones, because I saw lots of little kids, but I saw one where it was a little kid and
yeah.
like she was probably 16 or 17, teenage girl. And
Oh,
her
yeah.
mom has her
Hmm.
come in and watch it. And she goes, she's black.
Yep.
Oh my
I saw
God.
that. Yep.
She's black. Like, and she was just so excited. So like it's
She's
more
like,
than just
Mama,
little kids.
Mama,
Like
she's, yeah.
it fucking matters. So calm the fuck
Yes.
down and sit down. Shut up. And go watch The Little
And
Mermaid.
also, can I just say, people are late to the party because they
I know
announced this
forever and ever
casting
ago.
like a year
Yeah.
ago And I guess it's just now seeing it for the first time,
Well, and
but they like
maybe this is.
announced it and they showed pictures of the people like a year ago. And I'm
Mm,
like, and y'all are getting all up in arms now? Like,
yeah, you probably don't care. You probably weren't paying attention.
probably not.
I'm over here going like, you fucking love Bridgerton, and I know you fucking love Bridgerton because everybody fucking loves Bridgerton. And one of the things that's magical about Bridgerton is that race,
Right.
ethnicity, none of that fucking matters at all. It's just
Oh,
not
right.
even part of the conversation. That just continues on, and
Right.
I'm here for all of them. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. Let's move on.
Right. Anyway, that's our judge,
Okay.
our collective judge.
Yes. So that was a very long judging session. So we apologize for that,
Yes.
but that's okay. My story is short.
Your story is short.
Yeah, well, I
Mine's
mean,
ish.
um, so this week, guys, we have brought to you the topic of family curses.
Ooh, because they exist.
They do. They do, and they're scary. So make sure you don't piss off any witches along the way because they gonna curse you.
Right, right.
Let's see.
And I think it's your turn.
Um, hold
Is
on. What
it?
was last week again? I just I did the damn thing.
History.
Um, yes, it is my turn to
History.
go first because I did the princess in
Okay.
the castle.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this week I have I have brought to you the curse of the Habsburgs. Ooh.
I like this one.
Me too.
It's
It's a lot of
interesting.
fun. So I got all of my information from Wikipedia, obvi. All
Right.
that's interesting, grunge.com, and the Vintage News.
Okay.
Now, for those of you who don't know, the Habsburgs are often called Hapsburgs by the English. It's a German,
Mm-hmm.
Austrian, whatever that area you want to call it name. They were named from the Habsburg Castle that was built in Switzerland in like 1020. So long
Wow.
fucking time.
It's old,
They've
old.
been around for like, well, they were around.
A hot
I know
minute.
that they
A
they
hot minute.
they were
Yeah.
around for a long time. Um, they are most known for holding the throne, I guess, of the Holy Roman Empire from the early 14 or mid 1400s to the mid 1700s. So like a 300-year reign of
Gotcha.
everything. And
Gotcha.
during that time, they, of course, held a lot of more local country thrones for most of Europe. So Austria is one that we're very familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
Spain, Croatia, and a whole bunch of other places all in there. Like just super, everybody was royal, living their royal life.
Gotcha.
So the Habsburgs had not only one, but two curses.
Oh.
Ooh.
Maybe we're extra
Well, I
cursed.
mean, if you've been
Okay.
around for that long, I guess maybe you piss people off. I don't really know.
Right.
So we're gonna start in the year 1000.
Oh, okay. We're kicking it back.
Yes. So it's the year 1000, and one of the Habsburg ancestors, unnamed because it's the year 1000, was almost attacked by a flock of vultures. They sounded pretty fucking vicious,
Almost. Okay.
and
Almost
was
attacked.
was saved from death by a group of ravens because ravens are the greatest birds
They
of all
are
time.
ravens and
I
crows,
love
man.
them.
They're like,
My life goal. My life goal. And I told
yes.
Spencer this because, spoiler, we're moving. Not quite sure where, but we're moving. But one of my life goals is that wherever we move to next, I'm going to have a flock of crows, ravens, blackbirds. I'm indifferent as to which particular variety they are,
Species.
but I love them. I love them. They're beautiful. Okay. Anyway, so this Habsburg ancestor is saved by a flock of ravens, and to repay them for saving him, he builds them a watchtower in the middle of the woods in which to live in and kind of take as their home. So they are cared for, they're loved, they have a place, it's theirs.
Oh,
So they
nice.
have
Yeah.
this nice kick-ass watchtower.
Sweet.
100 years later, another relative who's a fucking moron goes to this watchtower and is like, this is a nice area. You know what would be better than a watchtower full of birds? An enormous castle.
Right.
So he decides to build a huge castle and he chases off the ravens and in doing so kills some of the ravens.
Oh
And
no.
that's where
That's
things
where it
get
starts.
bad. So after this, these ravens are angry and
Of course.
they
As they should be.
transform, or call. I'm not quite sure. There are now supernatural ravens that are called Tern Falcon. That
Turn
Tern
Falcon.
Falcon, like turn and
Okay.
then Falken. Turn. It's probably much more dramatic if I was like Tern Falcon or whatever.
Right. If
If
you
I
said,
said it
yeah,
in German or Austrian or whatever.
German.
Um,
Right.
Tern Falcon, Tern Falcon. I don't know. They're
Right.
supernatural ravens, and they start to haunt the family because they're like,
Yes.
fucking
This is
hell.
like where Edgar Allan Poe got
I
like,
love this so
Puff the
much.
Raven, nevermore.
So, since this has happened, these supernatural ravens, or just ravens in general, tend to appear as death omens to family members. So, and they have for like
Oh,
centuries since. So,
okay.
they have appeared at every battle that the Habsburgs have lost, and it's been hundreds of years, by the way.
Yeah.
And one rumor is that they appeared at the beheading of Queen Marie Antoinette, who was a Habsburg before she got married. Oh.
Oh. Ah.
So that is the first curse.
Because you pissed off
You
the
pissed off the
Ravens.
ravens, so they come, they haunt you. They're like, we're death omens. We're bringing death and destruction to your family. Mwah, ah,
Right.
ah, ah. Love it. So now we're in the year 1848.
Okay.
During one of the uprisings against the Habsburgs, Emperor Franz Joseph executed a bunch of Hungarian rebels. They were trying to overthrow, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Among that group of Hungarian rebels was the 18-year-old son of Countess Karoli. I think that's how you say it. Karoli was pissed
Oh,
because
yeah. I
it's her
mean,
her baby gets executed.
right.
So she like makes a beeline for Franz Joseph and curses him, and these are her words. May heaven and hell blast your happiness. May your family be
Oh,
exterminated. May your children be
yes.
brought to ruin, and may your life be wrecked. So she's like hardcore.
That's
Yeah,
harsh.
she's like, fuck
I'm
you.
here
Yeah.
for it. I'm here for it.
And almost immediately, misfortunes began to happen.
Sweet.
So Franz Joseph's younger brother was Maximilian the First, who was the king, emperor, I don't know, whatever, his monarch, we'll go with monarch of Mexico. He had taken
Okay.
over Mexico. He was executed by a firing squad,
Ooh.
and his wife suffered from serious mental illness and had to be put into an asylum for like 30 years. So like immediately like
Oh,
bad shit started
wow.
happening.
Right.
Another royal died after falling off a horse. Another burned to death in a fire. One vanished at sea. Franz Joseph
Wow.
himself escaped an assassination attempt, just like by the skin of his teeth, but his wife did not. Empress
Oh.
Elsabeth. It's not Elizabeth, Elsabeth.
Yeah.
His wife, Empress Elsabeth, was stabbed by a disgruntled Italian anarchist while they were on vacay in Switzerland.
Wow. Wow.
And it's probably like maybe 20 years. I don't know. Well, I don't know that what this was 1940, whatever. But then infamously, several years later, Joseph's nephew, Archduke Franz Ferdinand.
Franz Ferdinand.
Oh,
Yep.
actually, I missed one. Hold on.
Oh,
My bad. This is actually really important. So, we'll get back to that. Sorry. So Empress Elspeth dies, but then Franz Joseph and Elspeth's only son, Rudolph, who is 30-year-old, and was the crown prince of Austria, he died
Uh-huh.
in a murder-suicide pact with his 17-year-old mistress.
What?
I know, right? That meant that
Wow.
the empire went to Franz Joseph's brother Karl Ludwig because Rudolph was dead. That was the only heir. And so when Karl Ludwig died, it passed to his son, Franz Ferdinand. And this is where we get to the very infamous 1914 assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand that started
Right.
World War One.
Nice.
So, two curses lead to World War. Thank you.
Right.
But I argue that there's, in fact, a third curse.
Oh.
This curse I like to call the Hapsburg jaw.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh.
So, as you know, royal incest was super common in royal families.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, hell, Elizabeth II, who may she rest in peace, long live the king, she married her third
Right.
cousin. Like, I know it's her third cousin, so technically but like, she married her fucking third cousin. Ew.
Right.
Ew. So, like, not even that long ago. It's like stupid. Bleh.
Right.
But, like, the Habsburgs, they took it to a whole new level, this whole incest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so one of the empire, or one of the countries that they maintained control over was Spain. They ruled there
Mm-hmm.
for 184 years. So 1516 to 1700. Out of the 11 marriages, 9 of them were incestuous.
Ugh.
And it was so
Like,
bad. It was so
no.
bad that Charles II of Spain could not have children. And so there was no heir to the throne. Charles
Right.
II was short, weak, impotent, mentally handicapped, had numerous intestinal problems, and didn't speak until he was 4 years old.
Wow.
There was a French ambassador who was sent out to, kind of check it out to see marriage wise, like, should they try and, like,
If
try and,
right.
and he wrote back that the Catholic king is so ugly as to cause fear and he looks ill.
Oh, he's so ugly.
He's so ugly that people are like scared. Ah.
They're like, I can't deal with this.
So, holy shit. This is my holy shit. So, Charles II, so the one that is so hideous and causes fear, his dad was Philip IV.
Mm-hmm.
His mom was the daughter of Philip's sister, as in, like, Philip's fucking niece.
A niece?
Was
Ew.
So that means that Philip was daddy to Charles, but also great uncle to
Great
Charles.
uncle. Oh, that's
And
disturbing.
Charles's mommy was mommy, but also his first cousin. I mean,
Oh my
like, ew, 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 ew.
gosh.
No wonder. No wonder. But
then it's also like how inbred were Philip and the
yes.
niece
Well,
also. Yeah. Like that's like,
yeah. Yeah. Ew. But so, like, it caused all those things, but it also caused the Habsburg jaw, also known as mandibular prognathism.
Huh.
I'm sure you're
getting technical.
Yeah. You know me. So, what that means is that the lower jaw protrudes out to the point that it's significantly larger than the upper jaw, creating a severe underbite. I forgot to email you all my pictures. Oops, but I mean it.
Well, actually, when you were asking me last night and I was telling
Yeah.
Brandon, I was like, I still really hadn't picked one. And so I like did a quick, and I'm like, oh, because on my story, I had watched at Brandon's like a documentary about this family. And I was like, oh, I'll do them because I was familiar with it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'd forgotten all about it. And then that's when he was like, oh, you should do the Habsburgs.
Yeah.
talk about he immediately was like, look at this jaw, and he pulled up a
The
picture, and it
Hapsburg
was
jaw.
like, oh God, oh
Terrific.
yeah,
Terrific.
yeah.
But anyway, so for some people like Marie Antoinette, she had the Hapsburg jaw, but it mostly just made her lower lip look more protruded. It gave her kind of a pouty look, which, you know, maybe wasn't great for her since she lost her head in the end, but you know.
Right.
But because there was so much inbreeding, like it just kept getting worse and worse. And it could be so severe that it would interfere with the person's ability to talk, like to be coherently understandable.
Yeah.
And it would make it difficult for them to fully close their mouth. Should be like opened up. It's weird.
I was gonna say, did it make it hard for them to like eat? Is that
Oh, you know, I bet. Because I'm trying to make yourself have an underbite.
like if you really had like a
Yeah.
severe one, would it like if you couldn't close your mouth, I feel like that would make it hard for you to eat as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Um, so when the very first Spanish Habsburg came, this is what I fucking hate about history. So he was Charles the Fifth, but he was the first king of Spain, the first Habsburg. So he was Charles the First in Spain, but he was also Charles the Fifth internationally. Whatever. It is yet another example of
just
why
name your
you can
kids
just
different
name your kids
things.
other things. Like stop naming them after daddy or granddaddy or whatever. Just like pick
Right.
a new name, guys.
Right.
It just makes me scream. But anyway, so Charles the Fifth or First, whichever one you like, his jaw wouldn't fully close to the point that one bold and I argue probably later beheaded peasant said, "Your Majesty, shut your mouth. The flies of the country are very insolent." So like it was enough that it was noticeable. Which I think is hysterical. But so like
Yeah, that peasant probably does not have a head.
I mean, I have several pictures of like all of like it's really telling. And it
Oh, yeah.
is one of those things that's just a prime example of what incestuous marriage does. Is it really emphasizes even like some negative things. So, and it wasn't, I mean, obviously the jaw is a very noticeable mutation that came about, and it was just like the visual representation of how fucked up their genetics were, because
Right.
they intermarried so much, and it was mostly in order to control everything so that all of the royal stuff stayed Hapsburg. Yeah.
Right.
But so that meant uncles were marrying nieces and cousins were together, and it was everybody was related in different multiple ways, and it's disgusting and gross. But it also really increased the death rate in their families. So they had much higher levels of miscarriages and stillbirths and neonatal deaths. So
Right.
only half of all of the Habsburg children survived to the age of 10.
Wow.
And like you're thinking, oh, but you know, it's a long time. It's the early like 14 to 1700s. You know, lots of kids died, blah, 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 blah. But at the same time, 80% of children lived to the age of 10 for other Spanish families, the exact same time period.
Right.
So like it was specifically the Habsburgs. Like there's so much inbreeding that caused that. And ultimately, that's what led to their loss of power, is that they could no longer produce heirs because they had so fucked up their genetic pool. They couldn't.
That it just was too far gone.
So it ended up being their demise, which I'm like, LOL. Ha ha ha. Good job, Countess, because their family was basically exterminated. I mean,
like they exterminated their entire their whole line.
They did it to themselves, but I mean, I argue that obviously killing Franz Ferdinand starting World War I also helped, but
right.
Um, you know, the question of it all is, was their decision to maintain all that power and continue incestuous, like, was that the result of a curse? Was their downfall
Right.
because of the curse in 1848? Or was this all part of the Curse of the Ravens from 1000 to be like,
Right.
we're
It
gonna,
just extended
because the
that
Ravens
long.
are like, we live forever, but you'll die. We will
Right.
watch you die and fail and be impotent and useless and so ugly that it causes fear, which, LOL. Uh, so there you have
I
it.
love it.
That is the story of the many curses of the Habsburgs. And
Nice.
why I'm very grateful that I had braces and rubber bands to fix all of my weird cross bites and things so I don't go, "Hmm."
Right. I feel like though there's even if they were now braces, there's no
But
helping.
no, like
Braces would not.
their jaw. I mean, again, we have paintings, obviously, and that's really all we have,
Mhm.
but they're very pronounced. Like, even Marie Antoinette, like, her face is very round and her lips are a little pouty. So, like, she escaped the worst of it, I suppose, but
Right.
I
Like she
just
wasn't as inbred as some of the
I'm over
others.
here going like, yeah, you know what, royal family, maybe it's a good thing that you let Harry marry an American and we let
Right.
William marry a non-royal aristocrat. Just fix it.
Right.
Just
Yep. Excellent
thank
story.
you, thank you.
I'm always here for revenge
I
ravens.
know. So, I'm here to tell you, go out, speak to the ravens, the crows, tell them thank you, give them some treats. I had to last week. I was driving down the street just in front of my house, and there's a raven or crow. I I have to see them next to each other to decide which one's which. I don't
Right.
know.
Uh-huh. Like they're hard to differentiate
Yeah, because
apart.
it's a
Yes.
size thing, so I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Just in the street, and so, like, I stop my car, and then I wait very patiently as he walks across the street slowly, and I'm like, "Yep, yep, I'm gonna let you do you because I don't want revenge ravens in my life. Thank you."
Right. Right.
Turn
Absolutely.
falcon.
Right. Wow. I love it. Turn falcon.
Thank
I love it.
you.
Yay. That was a good
Thank
story.
you. So, what story have you brought us, Claire, of family curses?
I don't even know if it's really a curse, but this family just had really bad luck. I don't know.
Well, it usually means somebody cursed them along the way.
Something, maybe. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be talking about the Von Erich family.
Mhm.
They are a pro wrestling family from Texas. So, like I said, I watched something several months ago about it. So I was familiar when I saw that. I was like, "Oh yeah, I know about them. I can
Yeah.
do that." And I got my sources from Wikipedia. Last Word on Sports, the Sportster and Bleacher Report. So, the Von Erichs, like I said, were a pro wrestling family from Texas. Uh their real name was Atkinson, but they all used Von Erich
Hmm.
when they got into wrestling because that's what the dad used. Um, his the dad's name was Jack Atkinson, but his wrestling name was Fritz Von Erich.
Fritz.
Yes, and that's what I'm just gonna call him Fritz because everything was
Mm.
Fritz. Nothing was, but it did say his name was Jack Barton Atkinson. He was
Mm.
born in August of 1929. Like I said, his ring persona was Fritz Von Erich, and he was what they call in the wrestling world a heel, which is basically a villain.
Mm.
Because I don't know if y'all know this, in wrestling there are like the bad guys and the good guys. It's a whole story. It's a lot.
Yeah.
If you've ever gotten into wrestling, But there are, you have the villains and you have the good guys, but the bad guys are called heels. And he portrayed a German Nazi
Right.
in the ring. So maybe this like led to
I was gonna
the
say,
the badness that
I
happened later.
I read a blip about them before you told me you're doing this and almost did them because of it. But it was basically he offended like I don't know if he's a Holocaust survivor or just like the
Right.
something like and a great big curse was placed on him. I was like, sure.
I mean, I can
Fair.
I
I'm
can
here
see
for that.
this.
I mean, I
Yeah.
I probably would too. So
Right. And he had we won't go into all of it, but he had a lot of awards
mm-hmm.
and he served as president of a few wrestling organizations in the 70s. And his closing move was called the Iron Claw, which was also his nickname in the Japanese wrestling circuit.
The Iron Claw.
Yes. And so here's where it gets so he and his wife, Doris, had 6 sons:
Mm-hmm.
Jack Jr., Kevin, David, Carrie, Mike, and Chris. And in his lifetime, he would see 5 of his 6 sons die.
Hmm.
And he himself passed in 97. He died of lung cancer that spread to his brain.
Mm.
But in his so we're going to get into the sons. Jack Jr., he was the oldest, born September 21st, 1952. He was accidentally shocked by an exposed wire and he was drowned in a puddle when he was 6 years old at their home
That's
in Niagara Falls.
horrifying, by the way.
Yes. Yeah. So that's the first son who passed. I'm not gonna go in the order that they were born. I'm gonna go in like the order that they passed. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they didn't like die in the order that they were born.
Well, I mean, and we're doing the family
Right.
first, not the history of their
Right.
lives. So yeah.
Right. 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 So the next one, David von Erich, he was born July 22nd, 1958. He was the best athlete out of all of the sons. They said he was like the crowning jewel of the family. And his nickname was the Yellow Rose of Texas.
All right.
I know. Yeah.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
The
wrestling. I
Iron
don't.
Claw and the Yellow
The
Rose
Yellow Rose
of
of
Texas.
Texas.
Right.
And he worked in the it's called the World Class Championship Wrestling, which is WCCW. And he was matched up several times against Nature Boy himself, Ric Flair. Uh,
Sure,
he
sure.
he never won because they always predetermine that crap before
Right.
before the thing. Um, and he teamed up with his brothers Kevin and Carrie in the ring several times when they would do tag team things. And he was very successful in Missouri and Florida wrestling circuits. He got married in 78 and he and his wife Candy had a daughter, Natasha. And then it says that she didn't say how, but it said she died in infancy.
Oh.
And that so not only did this guy lose sons, he lost a grandchild. Um, and so then David's marriage ended not long after losing their daughter in 79. And then he got married again in 82 to a woman named Patricia Matter. And then David died on February 10th, 1984 in Tokyo, Japan. And this is where it gets weird. The official cause was enteritis, which is an inflammation of the small intestine.
Okay.
And it says the most common cause is contaminated food or drink. But, however, Ric Flair, you know, these
Right.
guys, they travel together, you know. Ric Flair claims in his autobiography called To Be the Man that David's actual cause of death was a drug overdose.
Uh
And that a lot of people in wrestling believe that should be the official cause, even though on the death certificate it says enteritis.
they probably
Um,
they might have done that out of like consideration to the family kind of a
right.
thing. So it's
Well, and
fair.
there's also like stuff out there that's like, oh, it was a cover up because because he was such a big,
Right.
he was gonna be a superstar. Like that's where he was headed. And said that Rick said that the guy who found his body was another wrestler, Bruiser Brody. Said that he and Bruiser flushed narcotics down the toilet before the police could get there. So that's why they're saying, because they say that they're the ones who got rid of the drug evidence. So they're saying it was enteritis. And there was another wrestler, Mick Foley, who also says that he knows for a fact that David's death was from a drug overdose.
Ah.
So the wrestlers are saying it's drug overdose, even though
Mm-hmm.
the official report says enteritis. Regardless, it was terrible. Like, it's just like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. Um, let's see. The next one is Mike Von Erich, and he was known in the circuit. His nickname was the Inspirational Warrior, and he didn't want to be in wrestling. Like he wanted to literally he wanted to just be a cameraman
Oh.
for to video wrestling. That's all he wanted to
He's
do.
like,
But after
I'm an introvert. I don't want to do this.
right, right. Oh, but when David died, let's see, he was 26 years old.
Mm,
And then so Mike, his dad really pressured him to go into wrestling,
right.
especially after David's death, because they wanted Mike to replace David, especially when he wrestled with Kerry and Kevin when they would do their tag team stuff against there was another, it was like called the Freebirds or something, Fabulous Freebirds, had a rivalry with them.
Hmm.
And so they wanted him to kind of take David's place, and he did, even though he didn't really want to. But he wound up injuring his shoulder that wound up needing surgery, and the surgery led to him getting toxic shock syndrome.
Oh God.
And it also led to him having like long-term brain damage. So he never fully recovered enough to return, and he had to retire due to
Right.
lack of strength. Like he just could not do the moves anymore. And so on April 12th, 1987, he took a lethal dose of tranquilizers, and he passed at the age of 23.
Good golly.
I know. And so now we come to the youngest son, Chris Von Erich, and he was like the best way to put it, he was like the runt of the family. He was the youngest, and he was definitely the runt. He was only like 5'4", 5'5", when you have like your dad is 6'4", um, Kevin was 6'2", David was 6'7", Carrie 6'2", Mike was 6'2", and then Chris was like 5'4", 5'5".
Mm-hmm.
And he was kind of like sickly. He had asthma. He had a brittle bones disease, so his bones were prone to breaking.
So wrestling's
And
not a good choice. Got it.
yeah, so obviously he wasn't as successful as his brothers, but they said that he was like really tenacious in his pursuit of wrestling. Like he just really wanted it badly. Like that was what he wanted. And he tried many times, and his love of wrestling did keep him going despite a lot of injuries. And he would occasionally go in with his brothers and do the tag team stuff with Kerry and Kevin, but due to his lack of success, he became depressed. And then after Mike's death, he became more depressed and was pretty heartbroken because I think he was really close with Mike. And in 1991, he shot himself at 21 years old. So it was like,
Wow.
yeah. And so now we're at Kerry Von Erich. It says he was by far the most successful, and that's probably just because David passed.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel David probably would have been, but Kerry wound up being the most successful and most well known of the Von Erichs. And they said he was the best looking too. So,
Nice, nice.
yeah. It said he won the NWA World Heavyweight title from Ric Flair because her whole family had this thing with Ric Flair. And during a tribute show to his brother David, that's when he beat Ric Flair because it's like, oh, your brother passed, and we've got to give you
Yeah,
something.
all
So
right. We'll
we're gonna
let you
let you beat
in.
Ric
Yeah.
Flair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he had the nicknames Modern Day Warrior and Texas Tornado.
I mean, better than the Yellow Rose of Texas. I
I
mean,
mean,
just
right?
like that doesn't strike fear into my heart at all.
I know, right?
I'm just kind of like, okay.
Right. You're just kind of like, oh, it's pretty.
Uh-huh. That's nice.
He wrestled for the WCCW and the WWF, and said he was married to Kathy Murray in June of '83, and they had two daughters, Holly and Lacey. And Lacey went on to do wrestling as well
Oh,
later in life. Um, said in the late '80s that he secretly wrestled with a prosthetic foot, that he lost his foot in a motorcycle accident.
oh.
So, like, he just had this fake foot and nobody knew about it. So, but
Impressing.
obviously that kind of thing led to where he was struggling with substance abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like I said, he divorced in '92, and February 18th, 1993, he went out on his father's farm and shot himself in the heart.
Good golly, there's so much
I know.
unaliving
Yes,
happening.
yes. And so he was 33 years old when that happened. And fellow wrestler Bret Hart said that Kerry had confided in him about unaliving himself months before it happened. And he said that Kerry told him that he could hear his brothers calling to him and he just wanted to be with them. And
Aw,
when his marriage ended, that he basically told Bret that death was inevitable.
that is heartbreaking.
Yes. So those are the ones who have passed. The only one who is left is Kevin von Erich. He's the second child, but the oldest because Jack Jr. passed away
Right.
at such a young age. Um, his nickname was the Golden Warrior, and he's the only surviving son of Fritz von Erich. And it says next to David, he was the most athletic, like technically.
Mm-hmm.
And he spent his career, oh, he was born May 15th, 1957. Spent his career in the WCCW, and he had a fair amount of success, and he married his wife Pamela in 1980, and they have 4 kids and 6 grandchildren.
Aw.
Um, yeah, and he represented the whole Von Erich family during their induction into the WWE Hall of Fame. And actually, his um, sons, Ross and Marshall, followed in his footsteps, and they are now wrestlers as well. And he retired in '95 and moved to Hawaii.
Aw. Well,
And
so
that's where he is now.
at
And
least
he's
one of
like
them managed to
60.
escape the curse.
Yeah, he's like same age as my dad. He's like 65.
Huh.
So, but all that, like the dad had to watch basically all his children die and a grandchild,
Yeah.
and then he died himself from lung cancer. And it's just, I just really feel for the one that's left because he's
Yeah.
just like
I mean,
the
it's
only
all of your family is dead. That's a
right.
lot. That's a lot. Ugh.
It is. So
That's
that is the story of the Von Erichs.
any chance that they're related to the Habsburgs, and this is just a continuation of that.
I
just
mean,
a, just asking.
especially since they're taking on like German names. I don't know. I feel like Adkinson, the way
Hmm.
Adkisson, I feel like that might
Well, I
be
mean,
German too.
ultimately, the Habsburgs had to have illegitimate children around somewhere, so there's that
Right,
gene pool's still hanging out. But like,
right,
I've never
right.
been so grateful that my family is the whitest white people that have ever whited in the world. Scotland represent, because
But yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we've got lots. I know we have inbreeding in my family because like my great grandparents had the same last name before they got married, so there's
Oh,
that. Ah. They
Ooh.
claim that they
Claim.
passed and they weren't related. I'm like, yes, they
But how do
were.
they know?
Yes, they
How do
were.
they know?
It's a small ass town. Of course they were fucking related. Let's be real. So we all have it. I'm pretty sure that's why my toes can spread out and have weird little finger toes, but it's fine. So we all have some. It's fine. But hopefully
Oh gosh.
there's enough removed that I don't have to worry about the Habsburg jaw and that family curse
Right.
at least. I think there's only like one lone German descendant in my family somewhere, so I'm probably all right.
So anyway, that's the story of the Von Erichs and their tragic
Very
family,
tragic.
you know. And I mean, like, there was a lot of like, oh, they fought this guy and they
Yeah.
wrestled this guy, and I was just like, I don't need to know all that.
Well, that
So I
was
left a lot of like the wrestling stuff out.
I left out a lot of the who descended and became blah 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 because I'm like
Right.
they were all inbred. It's fine.
Right, right.
And it turned into this madness with
Right.
Charles II, who was so horrifying that
Right.
everything, and it made me laugh because last week I also had a Charles II, but they are different Charles IIs because it's different countries.
Right.
So
Yes,
I was
not the
like,
same Charles.
not the same Charles. But there you go. Well, that is an excellent story. It feels like a lot of curse to happen because you dressed up as a Nazi at one point. I mean,
I
I'm here
mean,
to be like Nazis bad, but like I don't think he was trying to say they were good. He was the villain. So
right.
just maybe if you're cursing people, maybe you should also take a breath before you do the curse.
Because he obviously, I mean, he was wrestling like right after World War II
Yeah.
happened, you know, because he was
Yeah.
born like right when the stock market crashed. And, you
Yeah. I
know,
mean,
so, I mean, he obviously Nazis to him were bad guys, you know,
well,
which they
it's
still are. But in that time frame, you
yeah.
know, it was like, oh, the US is fighting the Nazis.
Well, it's kind of like the infamous picture of Prince Harry. I think he still has this title. I don't really know. Um, Dressed as a Nazi soldier, which is a huge big thing. It's
Yes, I remember
infamous. It's
that.
huge. Everybody's like, I can't believe you do that. But he was at a costume party. The theme of the party is the absolute worst costume you could possibly be.
Right.
And so it's like he took the assignment and he went forward. Like he wasn't
He understood the
like
assignment.
yeah,
Like
he
if
was like
that was the costume party.
so it's that picture gets blown up a lot and I had seen it long before I found out what because I remember like God that's really in poor taste but then like
Right, that's
much
tacky.
later I
Yeah.
found I was like oh it was like what horrible thing can you dress up as and you're like okay well he won that is about as horrible as you can get I mean
Right.
so maybe
So he wasn't like dressing up to
right
celebrate it. It was
so I'm
yeah.
like that's kind of how I see this poor guy he's like I was, it's like you're a villain. I,
Right.
that was my assignment. Here we are.
Yeah,
So like
right.
I was like, here we are. I'm on
Because
board.
the others,
So,
the sons did not really do the Nazi thing. It was
mm.
mostly it was the dad that dealt with the
Well, I mean,
Nazi.
again, I'm sorry. I don't mean to judge, but like the yellow rose of Texas, I just can't. I mean,
Oh, shit.
we all know that wrestling is completely lost on me. I have watched none of it. It is not my preferred form of entertainment. Good for those of you who love it. However, I am here for good names. And I'm like, the Yellow Rose of Texas. Just, I don't.
Doesn't really like ring fear like the Texas tornado.
Well, I mean, and, if it's like, oh, the Yellow Rose of Texas, you're like, yay? I don't. I'm sorry. Yeah, whatever. Just personal thoughts. Well, that was an excellent story. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
You'll notice, guys, that neither of us did probably the most infamous family curse of
I started
the
to say,
Kennedys.
yeah.
I almost did the Kennedys slash the Onassises because apparently
Right.
she took it with her. Bless her.
Right.
So, like, there's still a future there.
Yep. I know. I was like, I don't want to do the most obvious one since basically
Yeah.
when we did cults, I did the cultiest cult
Well,
ever.
and that was me. I was like, I don't want to quite go there yet. It's just not quite.
Right.
It's like I want something a bit more fun, supernatural ravens getting their
Yes.
petty revenge, which is
Right.
my favorite theme, revenge.
Right.
I
Okay. So,
guess that means it's time for tarot time
tarot time
with April.
with April.
A spooky, spooky. Tell me when to stop.
All right.
All right. Time to shuffle the cards, my dear, to keep the ravens away. No family curses for us except the weird little toes I already have.
Stop.
They're weird toes. And there. I mean, I inherited the my mom's side of the family, the Moberly side, toes. I have Moberly toes
Okay.
because they're basically little fingers and I can pick things up with them.
You
It's
can.
really disturbing.
Like how you can
I
spread your toes
yeah,
apart. I'm like, what
yeah,
the
yeah.
hell?
I had no idea that wasn't normal until I was much older. So my sister, however, inherited my dad's side of the family. So she has like Granny Maud's foot, which is like the weird extra like um I don't know that I don't think it's called like bunions, but it's like a knobby bone protrusion or whatever.
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
So she got that, and I think it caused her problems when she was younger, but I don't. Hopefully, it doesn't anymore. But yeah, so I have weird finger toes. that's my
You
family
do.
curse.
You really
I
do.
have weird finger toes. All right, what are the cards going to tell us this week?
Right.
Ooh, first card, the Magician.
Oh, I don't think we've had that, have we?
No, we have not. So that's exciting. Our next card is the Sun inverted.
Oh.
And our last card is the Seven of Wands.
Ooh.
Yes, seven. Woo, Magician. That sounds different.
I know.
It's
I was like, we've
Merlin's
not had that.
card.
Merlin.
That's the card he pulled from the deck.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, magical Merlin. And he was just kind of like, whatever.
Right, as he does.
As he does. I actually don't know what number the Magician is. It might take me a minute to find him. Excuse me. That is unpleasant. Oh, Magician is number 1.
Oh.
I did not know that. The Magician has all of the magical tools in front of him. Pentacle, wand, cup, and sword. But he's not reaching for them. He has his own 2 hands, one usually pointing up and one down, which calls to the Wiccan prayer, as above, so below. It's actually accurate. That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
He is in control of the elements. He is calling the shots. The Magician uses his own energy to make things happen. He is surrounded by growth and beauty. He is looking straight ahead and is completely aware of his abilities. This card always reminds me that we are magic. Remember, the first chalice was a cupped hand, the first wand an outstretched finger, and the first pentacle an open hand. The first sword was probably a sword, but whatever. The point is, we don't have a need for trappings, we only need ourselves. This is a card of action. He is about to make things happen. The magician exudes self-confidence. One of the most telling parts of a stage magician is the level of hard work that goes into his expertise. He can spend hours and hours on a presentation or trick, but all that will remain hidden, and he'll pull off the presentation as if it were completely spontaneous. That kind of swagger, the I got this energy, that's the magician. You see this card a lot with successful people or with people who've just found the correct path in their life and have just had that eureka moment. Just sit down, kiddo. He's got this covered. When the magician shows up in a reading, the reading becomes charged with potential. It represents self-love, self-awareness, and confidence. It's one thing to know for certain that you're going to do something. It's something altogether different to know for certain that you're going to succeed. It changes the flavor of the reading and breathes new life and magic into whatever you're working on. Ooh, this
That's a
sounds
good card.
good.
That's a good card.
I like that card. But then we have an inverted card.
Yes. We've had the sun a couple of
Oh,
times.
yeah, but the sun is a good card about bringing stuff into light and
Yeah. So what is the inverted?
well, I'll tell you, but I have to remind you of what the sun is. um so it's basically the sun is ebullience and happiness, and it's because the sun brings things into light. Um, um It's about, let's see. Yeah, so the sun was a good card, shining light onto things that are in the dark, but it's also seems to be full of joy and happiness. And the sun inverted is not all that different. It's going to be a bit delayed, and okay might not look like what you expected, but still it's all right. So
Okay. Well,
that didn't really change
it's
a whole
not
lot. It's
bad.
just you'll get there. That's fine. So cool,
Yeah.
cool.
So it's not like you're thinking like, oh, it's the
Well,
opposite.
I
It's
know.
gonna
Well,
be
because
like,
sometimes
oh,
it's
this is
like,
doom and
doom
gloom
and
and
gloom and death. Okay. Ah. And then we have the Seven of Wands, not swords.
not swords. Yeah. Or S words.
The Seven of Wands is about taking a stand, drawing a line in the sand, standing on your own 2 feet. Let's see. The man is at the top of a hill. This is not my card, but just so that you know.
Yeah.
So he's worked hard to get there. All Just gonna skip over some of this. Okay. In readings, this card comes up for a few different reasons. Tenacity is always present, but in different ways. The softest meaning is that you're literally working your way to the top. You've got your goal in sight, and you're doing what you need to take care of it. Next, you're having to defend your goal or your path. Someone is questioning you or doubting you, and they don't care whether you fail. In fact, they might be invested in seeing you fail. The challenge is now
Mm-hmm.
coming from outside rather than within. This change in motivation might affect how you carry yourself. Now it gets interesting. This isn't just a challenge to your ideals, this is someone actively interfering with your life. It's rarely as straightforward as someone getting in your way, it's usually sneaky or annoying. But the other person's goal is to knock you off track. This comes up a lot in readings in which a sibling, a close friend, or another family member is tossing roadblocks in your way. This is annoying, but sometimes works. Sometimes it's easier to acquiesce than to ruffle feathers and cause problems. Here's where it gets serious. Again, cards change their meaning slightly depending on the question, position of the card, etc. Wands, especially, don't really have a stock answer. The serious meaning of this card is that someone is threatening you or your loved ones. I think that people forget that we have a fierce nature. You may not is a sentence that I don't hear often enough. You may not treat me like this. You may not bring this negativity into my life. You may not touch me. That's a no. No means
Nice.
no. Stop means
Right.
stop. This card is not only about being brave and deciding how far is too far, but also about deciding what kind of life you want to have. Do you want to allow toxic people into your space? Do you want to permit people to treat you like garbage? Sometimes it's worth ruffled feathers to say no. Sometimes you have to, or your goal shifts and your road becomes strange and untenable. Then you have to fight to reclaim the distance you've lost. Sometimes you have to square your shoulders and tell someone to get the hell out of your face, and there doesn't have to be any politeness about it. Cool. So,
Nice.
I mean, it could be as extreme as you gotta tell someone to, fuck off, but it might just be, I'm assuming for my general worldview, that it's more the softer meaning of you're literally working your way to the top. Like you're
Right.
pushing forward, because that feels more on theme for the rest of the cards, but I guess we'll see what happens.
Right.
But currently, I don't think I have anyone interfering in my life in such a way.
Nice.
So cool. So confidence and magic, and then going into the sun with happiness, and then working our way to the top.
Sounds like a
That's
plan.
how I see it.
That sounds like a plan.
So, sounds like a good week in the cards.
Right. It does.
Which means it must be time to figure out what our topic will be for next week.
It is.
It's time for the Wheel
Wheel
of
of
Fate.
Fate. All right. Let's see what we got.
No whammies. I don't think we have
No
whammies,
whammies.
but I like to be like,
I
no
know,
whammy, no whammy. I
right?
don't even remember that show other than they would say, no whammy, no whammy, no whammy. And I don't really.
World Enders.
Oh, I think this one is Spencer's choices.
It is Spencer's.
Yay!
It is Spencer's
How
pick.
exciting! Okay, so for those of you who, I mean, everyone, none of you know, only Claire and I know. Spencer gave us this topic, and his thought was, kind of weird things that maybe you don't think about that could cause the end of the world.
Right.
Not just the obvious nuclear war, but like
Right.
random things. So next week, make sure you take your anxiety meds because we're going to talk about all sorts of different ways that can fuck everything up and in the world.
Indeed.
How exciting. Great. Well,
Should I leave that one on or take it off?
Let's leave it on.
Okay.
I mean, obviously we can take it off if we decide
Mm-hmm.
we don't ever want to have the anxiety attacks again.
Right.
But it'll be fun. Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us on this very excellent family curse episode. If you happen to have any family curses that impact your life specifically, including if you have the Hapsburg jaw, because fascinations abound, be sure to send us pictures and stories to our email address at
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
And of course, more topics for our Wheel of Fate because we love that. Again, as specific or as vague as you want, we enjoy them all.
It's true.
And you can find us anywhere and on all the things doing all sorts of crazy stuff all the time at
Brunch and Judge.
And please follow, like, subscribe, share with everyone because we want to keep on doing this. We have a good time.
We do.
So until next time, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you opinions that nobody asked for.